going straight into the arms of John Jackson. Oh, and behind that Jackson goal, there's trouble there. The boarding has collapsed in the first minute of the game, and there are going to be injuries and problems there, and a holding up of the game without any doubt at all by Derek Nippard. I would have thought there's no way that goal can continue, and there are going to be a wall collapse there. The play going on at the other end as the ball goes back to Peter Bonetti, and there's no way the game can continue. And in fact, there's trouble all around this ground. There are going to be some bad injuries there. It was a surging crowd that came down within the first seconds of the game when John Jackson took that shot from Tommy Langley. A wall was collapsed within seconds, and now I think the delay is going to be a long one. That's the problem. There are people on the pitch. I've seen girls out there crying with the shock of it all. And in fact, down on two sides of the ground, not only behind the goal, but alongside the main stand here, there's been a collapse there as well, right beneath our television gantry.
Was a bad start to the afternoon, Brian. Have you yet been able to discover what caused it? It's very difficult, Brian, but we've had a series of phone calls during the week from Chelsea supporters, which we've tended to ignore, obviously, as just a silly element, threatening that they were going to push walls down. And we had one particular phone call which claimed to be the leader of the shed at Chelsea, and that if we lost, they would destroy the ground completely. So we just, of course, ignored them and just treated it as people being silly. But the extraordinary thing is that we've had a capacity here of 24-4 against Spurs, and other than the odd sort of people being turned out, no problems at all. And yet whenever Chelsea came, even when there was a gate here of just over 11, they managed to do damage, and they managed to do it again. I think the Department of Environment, who advised us basically that you don't have to give tickets to Chelsea, were trying to sell us something, but trying to play the game fair as we did. We gave them tickets, plenty of tickets, and of course this has happened.
Yeah, so you don't think it was just the enthusiasm of the moment and purely accidental?
No, definitely not the enthusiasm moment. No, definitely not, because people were watching, and I spoke to several people that were on the various terraces, and I looked myself, even after the accident happened, the people at the back were still pushing, not just sort of falling. They weren't falling, they were pushing. In fact, the police made their way into the crowds afterwards to stop them pushing, and the barriers had been worked on during the hour or so before the game when they were there. They'd been picked at and worked at. And I think John Jackson saw when he turned, he told me before that after the accident he turned and saw three people trying to lift one of the steel pieces of the barrier to twist it round their heads and advise the police about this.
Really?
So of course it was an accident. I think possibly the frost getting into the walls and that sort of thing and the cold weather didn't help. But I think if you built steel boxes for these people, they'd come along with Oxford sitting allowance. You know, I don't know how you're going to stop them.
Have you spoken to the Chelsea officials about that?
Well, there's little they can do. I mean, fortunately we don't have this problem, but if our supporters go away and do this sort of thing, which they haven't, and the odd one that's silly and jumps over walls, we talk to them about it, but they're such a vast club and such a vast crowd, I don't think they can do very much about it.
What was the injury list? How many people were injured?
I think 8 were taken to hospital, but I only think that about 2 or 3 were sort of badly hurt with the odd break or so. I think we're very, very lucky. I thought the police were superb, St John's ambulance. I thought the referee was brilliant, the way he kept everything cool. And I think the game started in about 3 to 4 minutes.
What's the cost of it to Orient now?
Frankly, Brian, we haven't calculated, and to be honest, I don't care what it costs. The thing that concerns me most are the people who have been hurt, and I can only apologise to them on behalf of everybody here and to their family and